All right, everybody. So we're not beating around the bush. No fluff in this presentation here today. We're going to dive right into it. However, I do have to touch base on what Business Central is in the event that any of you all have not been on any of my webinars before. So Business Central is a unified ERP system. This generation of ERP system was tailored around providing a solid framework and foundation for partners like Davin and other partners around the world to extend these business processes or modules that you see in front of you today, right? This extension allows us to change the logic in the system to suit your competitive advantage, or even build out a whole new module like one that we've built out for landed cost calculations and container tracking. So some big things to note on this is that as we all have to deal with, AI is being shoved down our throat. I'm not going to be that guy today for you all. However, I do have to acknowledge that Microsoft has embedded Copilot into a multitude of different processes across different modules, which are indicated by the little Copilot icon you see here, right? You will also be seeing a little new. Now, what this is indicating to you is that in Vision 28, which actually was supposed to be out this month, but they postponed it for some reason, they are rolling out two new modules. A quality inspection module that allows you to now record the quality of products when you purchase it, when you produce it, and when you sell it, as well as an employee expense management will allow you to record credit card expenses and per diem expenses easier than what the system provided with you before. So with that said, to manage your expectation, Microsoft rolls out two major releases every single year, and you are going to have a limited amount of time to eventually upgrade. The upgrade process is handled completely by Microsoft in the back end. If it fails, they roll back, and we've been doing this I've been doing SaaS for at least 4 years now. I have never seen a rollback fail, right? So nothing for you to worry about. So let's move along now. So why migrate to the cloud? Well, as I just mentioned, Microsoft forces us to upgrade Business Central, which forces the partners and you to start utilizing new modules, new technology like the AI to get a better return on your investment. But it doesn't stop there, right? Especially with security. They're constantly improving their security. And this year, they are completely deprecating basic authentication in favor for OAuth 2.0, which we've had to now start transitioning clients across. So by staying in SaaS, yes, the upgrades and the little changes are a little pain, but it's for everybody's better in the long run. So on the topic of security, you are now forced to log into Business Central SaaS using multi-factor authentication. So that sends the little notification to your phone, you authenticate, and then you go in. But it's not done there. You then have to pass through all the different security measures enforced by your Microsoft Entra and the multitude of different security applications inside of your tenant. Once you get through that, then you're then able now to go into Business Central, in which permissions are assigned to your user that can start from the security group creation at the Microsoft Entra level, dictate what you can or cannot see and can or cannot do. Now, backups and disaster recovery, right? So Microsoft takes backups, as you see in front of you, every single day, and you have the ability to restore any environment down to the 1 minute mark up to 30 days in the past, right? At every point in time, you're going to have 3 different copies of your database existing in a data center. If that's not good enough for you, you could actually take out a more robust plan that allows you to have a data center in a secondary region. So for example, you could have one in the United States or one in Brazil and next one in Europe. So that's for real heavy duty disaster recovery. So moving along. This is, as Danielle said, is an investment in the Microsoft ecosystem. Business Central is not just an ERP system that stands alone by itself. We already know that Copilot is inside there, and I'll give you a small little glimpse of how that's going to represent itself when the new generation of ERPs, recently coined agenic ERPs, start to come out, which Business Central is already on the path to. With that said, Business Central out of the box connects and integrates with Outlook, Excel, Teams, Power Automate, all free of charge. You even get 1,000 free Power Automate licenses with your Business Central license. But just to manage your expectation on that, there's some cap on how many times it could be triggered. I have yet to reach the cap with any client, but I know it's there. Right? So we are always going to be transparent with you throughout this entire process. So again, these are the tools you have at your disposal. Now, my big winner for me personally is the Excel. We all know and love Excel. Some may hate it, but the reality of the situation is that the real really does run on Excel, right? And you're going to see as I get into Business Central, how Excel is represented in Business Central, but also outside, allowing you to even edit data outside of Excel, outside of Business Central, and publish it through Excel into BC. So, as I said, agenic ERPs is on the horizon. Now, I would have loved to show you what you have in front of you real time, but unfortunately, the Vision 28, which got postponed, is not this agenic AI creation ability is not readily available in our region, but it should be by the end of the month or early next month. What this is, it gives you the ability within Business Central to create your own agent with zero coding, right? And I could use zero coded. All you had to do is give it the appropriate instructions, and then it will execute that automated or semi-automated process once triggered. So looking on the right-hand side here, Microsoft is not fully going with the total automation just yet, and they're more encouraging everybody to start off in a point in which we record the actions of the agent, and then provide the agent with the ability to ask for a response if needed, right? So we could see that a reply has been sent. I could tell it to give it a reply. But within Business Central, this AI is no longer a black box, meaning that we don't know how we got to that decision. We do have the ability to see all the different tasks that it has executed to get up to this point in time. So the agent at this point in time is completely intended to supplement your existing workforce, making the tedious day-to-day tasks easier and faster to do by letting the agent get it done and the human approve it and vet it. Right. And now, migrating to the cloud, of course, you're going to take all that equipment that you put money into and all the time your IT staff spends maintaining it just for ERP to work, and it's going into the cloud. It's completely hosted within Microsoft's infrastructure. You have no ability to even touch the SQL database, right? And what this all in all means is that the responsibility of maintaining and ensuring your on-premise ERP infrastructure is working shifts from the blue column to the gray column, meaning that the only thing you are responsible for is paying the subscription. Davin and or Microsoft, mainly Microsoft, will be responsible for all of this. When upgrades are coming, we will reach out to you, set up an upgraded version of your environment for you to test your primary business processes on, to ensure that when the upgrade happens, there's no substantial issues or unforeseen problems that may arise due to new features or change in permissions, because these things do happen during an upgrade, It's not always the most smooth process, and we try our utmost best along with your staff to ensure that it is as smooth as can always be. And so far, our record shows we do have smooth upgrades. We have never had one cause any substantial downtime. At most we get is a little permission issue, and that is resolved within a few minutes. So this migration process, let's really talk about how this feels for you, right? So Microsoft has given us the ability to migrate from GP, SL, and on-premise Business Central, right? How this is handled is through our cloud migration tool, free of charge, built into BC. That migration tool is installed on your server, and then it accesses the data from your SQL, and it transforms it all in the background with just a few button clicks by me, and then insert itself into your Business Central SaaS, and you're live. It is the easiest go live that we could get. I've done about 5 with my 6 currently underway. So let's talk about our data a bit more, right? So to manage your expectations for the GP and SL clients, this migration process and the migration tool in particular is only compatible with GP version 2015 and up. For the SL clients is 2017 and up, right? The bulk of your major master data is migrated across. However, there are some particular areas that will be missing in GP and SL, particularly on projects, service management, if you have that. But the core financial stuff, open documents, all of that good stuff is migrated across. And what might not make 100% sense right now is the historical data snapshot. So let me explain by showing you what that is going to look like. Essentially, what the system is doing during migration is taking your historical receivables or historical payable documents, representing that in a document form in Business Central outside of your ledgers for you to then be able to provide traceability and look back into the past to see what was the full document amount and any activities like payments being applied or payments being received to it, so that you have an easy to read traceability historical area of after the migration is done. So how do we start with this? Luckily for the GP clients, there's a free GP assessment tool. We provide you with a link, some instructions. You install it on the SQL server. It reads the data from the SQL and it spits out a nice risk assessment and a data analysis Excel report that we will now digest, look and figure out what risks do we have. Maybe some of your data needs to be edited. Maybe the character length is too long. These are the typical things we find, right? It allows us to now determine what is the best migration path for you, right? Even if you're not a GP client, we are still going to come in for SL, for BC, and perform our own analysis, right? And this analysis will then guide us accordingly. And what I want you all to remember with this presentation also is that this is an opportunity for you to make a decision whether to leave bad design decisions in the past. Maybe you set up your chart of accounts poorly. Maybe there's some bad data that you don't want migrated across. In that case, you can do a full re-implementation and start from scratch. We have had GP clients decide, hey, our data is so bad in there, we really don't want to bring across all those bad decisions and have to go with it long term. So that is a choice that together with us, we will make and make sure it is the correct decision. Right, so I'm going to hand it over to my sales director, Kevin, for him to talk a little bit about the Bridge to Cloud promotion. Kevin, over to you.
I thought I was going to do this after the demo. All right, I'll cover this quickly because I want you guys to see the system. Microsoft is exactly what you're seeing there as the name of the promo. They're making it easy for Nav, Business Central, any on-prem solution that you have, the licensing fit, once you continue paying that annual enhancement every year, you get access to discounted licensing. So you get a 30% discount on Business Central licensing. It's as simple as that. Of course, the benefit of it is a bit of a win-win. So whilst you're taking your time, you have to commit to 3 years, whilst you're taking your time to either very quickly move to Business Central Cloud, or you do it over the period of a couple months, couple years. So that means you're currently using your existing system. You still get support from Microsoft. You still have incidents. You're still seen as an on-premise customer, whilst also having access to discounted licensing for Business Central. It's as simple as that. The current promo, it started January 1st, ends December 31st, and they're going to continuously discount and make that amount less and less. It was previously 40%, now it's 30%. And also, you guys may have realized, a decent subset of you would have, the annual enhancement that you pay is consistently getting more expensive for Microsoft. So some persons, they probably were paying like an 18% enhancement on their total software value. Now, for a lot of it, it's currently 21%. And the goal is clear for Microsoft. They're not pretending. They want it to be difficult for you to stay on-prem because they want you to go to the cloud. There's benefits there, but ERP clients tend to just stay on what they have because it works. Why toy with something that isn't working, even if there's a lot of value add, which we just spoke of, and which you'll see just now? Why move? But Microsoft has their goals, and after a while, the financial impact is going to become less and less of staying on-prem, and you'll want that you took the promo because it further offset the software cost by a lot. So if you guys want to hear more about the promo, you want to hear about the discounts and how much licensing you're going to get for your annual enhancement, reach out to us directly, reach out to your account exec. If you don't have an account exec talking to you about this already, just send us an email. There's something at the end of this demo where you could just scan or maybe send something on the website also. I think I covered the basic tenets of it there. Nick, go to your demo because that's what they come for.
All right, thanks, Kev. All right, so as you can see on the screen is demo time. So just give me a moment while I stop this here. Right, lovely. So we're in the mix now, everyone. All right, so this is Business Central for anybody who hasn't seen it. This is the role center. You could think of this as your landing page, right? The main idea here is that I am seen as a business manager. That's my role in the organization. We have multiple different roles here, right? So the role centers are really tailored to provide immediate day-to-day metrics in the form of sales, or an easy to click jump and tile to see all my sales orders that are currently existing. So a lot of what you're going to see today is really, really going to show how much attention and investment they have put into the navigation and ease of use. It is very, very straightforward, right? We have lots of different things we could do here, right? We could even embed little pie charts. That's cute, that's nice, but I could even embed it. Oops, I clicked that by accident. I could even embed it, the free Power BI reports that Microsoft has now provided, right? So they provide these Power BI reports across the different modules in the system, and I could interact with it as I see fit here. Right? This is probably not the best representation of it, but it shows you how they are thinking about how the end users really use the system, right? We will be showing the Power BI reports. I have it little up on my web browser there, right? But to start off, we're going to first go through what our sales order process feels like, right? After which we will then I will show off one of the features that I really wish one of my clients will implement, which is the reminder terms. It will improve your AR efficiency. After which we will show off the integration that Power BI, Power Automate provides, which will allow you to send tailored workflow notifications, even approval workflows, even though Business Central does come with that natively, to Teams, Outlook. So if you have a Power Automate expert on your team, they will be smiling right now. Right? After which we're going to talk about a little bit about AP efficiency, and then we're going to really end off with focusing on how you are going to use the system through the reporting features to improve your day-to-day reporting and your business intelligence decision making. Right? So let's get into it. So if I'm doing a sales order, I could well search for the sales order. I don't need to type in the entire word, right? From here, look, let's say somehow I'm on my customer screen. I might be a salesperson and I want to look at what's the status of our customer to see if I want to upsell them or it even makes sense to call them. Here, I could immediately see the credit limit. By my nice little fact box here, I could scroll down and I could see all the other information without even having to go into the customer card, right? So I could even see how this customer is from the AP point of view. So we could establish a connection that tells us that our customer is also a vendor, which I could then net off during my AP process to make that process a little easier, right? I could see the credit limit. I could see the overdue amounts. Anything that looks like it could drill down, a hyperlink, means I can drill down into it. So I don't always need to type to get around. I could just click around. And for the most part, that will give me what I need. So let's pretend I'm going to create a sales order. So I could do that, right? Maybe I forgot where that button is. I don't know. It does happen. Sometimes you have your off days. I could just type it in. And on my current page, it will create a sales order for that particular customer for me, filling in the fields. So I don't need to do it, right? Reduce button clicks is effort, right? As I get a notification here, it has an overdue balance, all right? So let me share that. So I drill down immediately into the values that make a difference for this particular customer. Why is it telling me there's an overdue balance? Should I even sell to this customer? Maybe I need to create a reminder to him. You'll see that in a second, right? So from here, to speed up the process, if you're selling to a customer over and over and over, you could set up recurring sales lines. So I could click this. I can see that I have a package, a particular for this customer. I click OK. It's in 30 lines, right? Easy as that. So there's multiple different ways in which we could speed up the sales process. But everything you are seeing here, the layout, the recurring lines, everything here looks the exact same on the purchase process side and the purchase order. So that's also part of the user interface design, making sure things look the same so that when you jump between modules, which is as simple as running a page, you're not caught off guard. Immediately here, once I have a sales line selected, I could even see how much available inventory I have. So on this particular one, I see a negative inventory. I could now see a breakdown as to why. So I see that there's actually 2 sales orders open, right? I could see if I have a scheduled receipt, meaning that I have some sort of purchase order scheduled to be received, and was the forecasted projected inventory. If you even want to get fancy, you could create your own little forecast to help the system render this information, right? So I could just come out here. Now, because we're in Business Central, I'm using my Davin account, right? I'm signed in with that. I also get, as I said before, it's an investment in the ecosystem. I get to use my email license within Business Central. So I don't need to go and download this as a PDF, attach it to Outlook, send it. I could just do post and send. I have configured the system to suggest sending via email as a default for me, or you could set it up for individual customers, right? It will embed the relevant sales parts of the order into the body of the email. So they can't say, hey, well, I didn't open that document, boy, sorry, as well as attach the PDF version of it. Right? You could also have additional attachments based on whether it be a sales scenario or purchase scenario. So if you're engaging with a customer and there's some sort of legal document or promotional material you want to attach, you can easily just have the system automatically attach it. After that, you send the email, all within BC. I don't need to jump into Outlook at all. Right? This is just rendering my a little sales shipment, which is neither here nor there. The only thing we care about is really the invoice, right? All right. So with that said, we spin in hats now and we're going to check reminders. So this is always a module I show, and I would love to see somebody finally implement it. I don't work in AR, so from my point of view, having the system come and spit out reminders automatically for invoices that are overdue and assigning those values and allowing me to send it directly from the system to the customer seems like a process improvement efficient and an effective way to do it. Now, how does that look when you are the one receiving the email? Again, it's embedded into the body of the email. This text is completely dynamic, so it will change based on the customer name and any other values that we assign here, as well as it attaches the PDF version of the reminder. All right, so again, process improvement in my opinion. Now I don't work in AR, so what does Nick know, right? All right, so AR efficiency. Let's talk a little bit about the purchasing process, shall we? So, let's see if that'll refresh quickly for me. So on the purchasing side, a lot of the times we will end up using the native Power Armor workflow approval workflows, which will then allow, given some specific trigger on your purchase order, maybe it's over $100,000, you could then, have somebody like Kevin approve it before I purchase the documents. So in addition to that, you also have templates designed for Power Automate for Business Central, pre-made by Microsoft, in which you could now not only send the emails, but you could send notifications to Teams, right? A big one here I tend to see is when a customer exceeds a credit limit, right? So you could utilize this Power Automate flow. Remember, this is free, right? You just set it up. Once it's triggered, you get a notification in Teams for your AR teams to know that this client has exceeded their credit limit, right? So again, investments in the ecosystem, not just Business Central. That's what we're talking about. Right, so jumping back to the AP side. So if I jump to my payment journal, and this is where we go to make payments towards vendors, to improve the process of knowing what I need to pay, I could actually ask the system to suggest vendor payments. How we go about doing this now is two ways. We tell it how much we want to pay out. And then also, if we have a prioritization of vendors, let's say you have a group of 10 vendors, and this is, where the bulk of your product comes from, you want to make sure, you keep those guys happy. So we could use vendor prioritization, right? We could predefine what bank it's coming from. So all of this you'll see now will reduce the amount of effort required to populate my journal entries. So the system now is going and suggesting, well, okay, based on what you have told me, I suggest we pay these invoices for these vendors for these amounts, and have already applied this payment to the invoice. So I don't have any button clicks to now go and make sure that when I post this, that invoice is impacted with that payment. Right? Additionally, we could also export these as ACH files, right? And as I said kind of briefly before, we could actually net off customers who are also vendors, right? Time saving. So with that said, I'm now going to start talking a little bit about all the nice reporting features. And this is where the Excel stuff gonna come in. So whenever we receive goods or sell goods, we're always going to have item ledger entries created. This is your subledger that, tells us where the system or what inventory transactions have been made. This is how it looks. Rows and columns, just like Excel, right? When I switch into analysis mode, I am now able to aggregate the data and change it into a pivot mode, just like you would do on a pivot table in Excel, right? I'm able to now come and say, all right, well, I want to see this as a time series. So I drag and drop these fields down here. No coding required here, y'all. None at all. I'm able to see my quarter one down to my month and down there. Now, this is not a business intelligence tool, right? So I straight up tell you, no, you're not trying to make your business decisions here, right? This is what I call an ad hoc analysis tool. And by that, I refer to we have a specific scenario in a short, small amount of time or some specific case that we need to investigate, and we use this to do so, right? The big reason why I call it that is that this little count. Again, being transparent, expectation management is what we are about to make you all make the right decision. There's currently a limitation on how many rows you have of 100,000, right? I could now drag and drop this to here. So I could now, oh, well, I don't want it in that way. I want to see what items I've been selling to my different customer groups. I can even now copy this and send it as a link to Kevin so he could see the sales per the customer group and render it immediately in Business Central. We could even open it in Excel. I could even now, very, very recently in the current vision, add new fields from other related data sources in the system if the field does not exist on this particular page. So I could pull in more information for my items if I want. Right? So this is the analysis mode. From here, we're going to touch on now Excel reports. So we all accustomed to getting the PDF reports, they're okay, cool, but there's always a problem where you can't filter it or sort it. It's not really interactive. It renders and that's about it. Well, with Microsoft now and Business Central, they're pushing every report to be able to be created in an Excel vision. And what this gives you is this. I can now come in here and filter my accounts payable according to the due date. And I have that ability now to actually interact with my reports. So I could sort it, filter it. You could even add more sheets yourself to then slice the data. So once you sorry about that. Everybody hear me?
Yeah, we could hear you.
All right, yeah. Headphones died on me there. So point of advice, don't take recommendations from Kevin on headphones, right? He did lead me astray.
Mine's
So-
working. I hear now. Mine's working.
Right. Cool. So now Excel reports, but we ain't done there just yet with the Excel reports, right? So everybody here will be familiar in some way fashion if you're on GP and SL with your management reporting module. Well, that still exists, but just as the financial reports module, right? So we get the ability, and I'm going to dive too deep into this, to predefine how we want our different rows and columns to look like, right? So if I wanted to change this, I could now do an edit row definition. And I'm going to just give you a brief little insight into it. We set what GL accounts we want to report on for this particular row. We could even use totaling accounts, which is just a GL account that totals a nested set of posting accounts. And we could even introduce formulas. This is what is giving you your board reports. It gives you the ability to create actuals versus budgeted, actuals here, budgeted, variance, include formulas. You could get the same column like calculation for fiscal periods also. right? But that's nice. That's really not what I wanted to show you. So what we have here is the ability now, let me just grab my little template, to have an external Excel template that I could predefine with all my different unnecessary pivot tables and charts for my board reported, so that when I need to update it, I can just come and drag and drop that template into the financial reporting module for it to spit it back out with updated data based on whatever filtering and time has occurred. And then I will get all my sheets with all my charts, screenshot, copy, paste, PowerPoint, board report, save a lot of time, right? So last thing we're going to touch on is also the Power BI reports, right? So as I said earlier, we are going to get Power BI reports for finance, inventory evaluation, manufacturing, projects, purchasing, and sales, of which the majority of them are currently open source with Microsoft, with the intent that all will be open source. Does that mean if you have Power BI Pros in your organization, you could download the source code, edit it, use these dashboards as a foundation to change them to suit the way you want to do your business intelligence. If you don't have that skill set internally, we have data engineers that will do it for you. Now, transparency again, it's free to install. Open source is free, but you do need a Power BI Pro license to access it. All right. And the last thing is Central Q. This is a free AI that has been trained on Business Central documentation, YouTube videos, and the larger community around the world, because Business Central has a massive community that you can now come and ask the questions. It will then spit out the recommended steps. Right? This is my preferred approach to it, only because my master's degree installed me that if it doesn't come with a citation, then it can't be trusted. You have your citations right here. You could click on YouTube video, go to it. What this gives you is independence. You don't need to go hunting down research, calling Davin, possibly paying a support. You can try and learn it yourself, give a crack at it, and then call us if you can't get through, right? This ability also does exist directly in Business Central. So as time goes along, we all know Copilot is being shoved down our throats. You could ask those same questions here. You could even ask Copilot to give you a more in-depth explanation about specific fields in Business Central, right? And with that being said, the demo is over. And